Hi guys, and welcome again to my channel. I'm so excited to just spend some time with you guys. This is my favorite thing to do. I love it when you guys talk back to me and you leave comments and I check my channel and the new subscribers. Welcome to all of you new viewers. I just love it when you guys do that. I am so thankful and so grateful for each and every one of your lives, and the fact that you just feel my vibe as I feel your vibe, you know what I'm saying? So if you want to hear more about how to manage rejection in this video, I can't wait to share with you some of my tips and insights and reflections on how to manage rejection. So if you want to do that and watch the rest of my videos, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment, because I'll be uploading some videos, some random, some bonus videos. I try and upload twice a week, but sometimes if I'm feeling good and I have a chance to record more, I want to be able to post some bonus ones. So make sure you press the little bell in case there's a little bonus video there for you. So I just wanted to talk to you guys today about managing rejection, which is the hardest thing ever. Rejection is so, it leaves us depleted, it leaves us empty, it leaves us feeling unloved, because there's something about somebody saying, look, you're not right for me, that somehow makes us reflect so deeply on ourselves and we try to correct ourselves as if there was ever anything truly wrong with us. One of the things that we need to understand about rejection is people don't reject you because of something about you. They reject you because of something about them. There's something about them that can't handle something about you. It doesn't mean that thing is wrong. Some men will reject you because you're just too pretty, you know, and they don't want to be the guy that's dating the pretty girl that every guy wants. Some guys will reject you because you're too charismatic or too independent or whatever. All good attributes, but it's not about that thing being wrong with you. It's about their own inability, their own deficiency. And even if they reject you because they don't find you attractive, it doesn't mean you're not attractive. It just means you're not attractive to them. And so for me, part of how I've learned to deal with rejection is to realize that rejection is never really a reflection of me. It's a reflection on that person. It doesn't mean there's anything broken in that person. It just means whatever is in them doesn't suit me. And it could be something good, but it might just be it's not me. So anytime I'm ghosted, or yes girls, I've been ghosted. I think you'd know that I've been watching my videos. I always reflect on it as, well, I just wasn't right for them. But I also learned a little secret thing that I do that I wanted to share with you guys. And I remember when I started dating, I went on this date once with this guy, and I swear the boy was like the better looking version of David Beckham. I mean, this guy was fine. And I remember all the guys at work were like, girl, hello, you finally met your match, like you're finally dating a guy who's in your league. And I mean they were like, whoa, you know. And this guy was so fine. And you know what I did, which is what we all do, I had him become my boyfriend. I was married to him. We had 10 kids and been on a holiday. I mean, I had it all mapped out. And I know we do that, don't we, girls? Like, we meet a guy and before we know we're married, living in his house. We've worked the future out in our heads. And I remember obviously meeting him, and it wasn't the greatest experience. We had nothing in common. We had hardly anything to talk about. It was cold. There was zero chemistry. It was so disappointing. And I remember sort of going home and thinking that was a total waste, because this is the one day I've been so excited about. But as I started to reflect on it, I started to look further on into my whole sort of dating life and dating experience. And I realized that every time I was ghosted, you know, the horrible feeling you get, that awful feeling when somebody just stops calling you, you could feel them. You know, I've done a video on this first because it's sinking feelings, how to deal with being ghosted. I'm telling you girls, like, we know how it feels when that person withdraws, when you're just invested. And much of it, I realized, was not because I was invested in them. I was invested in my vision. Was invested in the kids we would have, the romance, the holidays we would go on. I was invested in the stuff that had not yet materialized, that every time I was around them was materializing only in my head. So when I was with them, I was falling in love with the idea of them, the idea of the lifestyle we could have together. I would match what they do for a living, what I do, how that would work, how we can see. Like, I was constantly, every time I was with the guy, building a future together. I was already meshing our lives. Okay, he lives over there, I guess I could move to his, or he could, I was constantly trying to constantly doing this in my head, until one day I realized, and I read a book called The Power of Now, and I forget the author, but if I find it, I'll put it in the description box. And it really drove home the reality that the futures we are creating in our minds, the reason why they shatter and fade away with the ghosting or with a relationship that doesn't work, and the reason we grieve for so long and how difficult it is because we're grieving the dream, we're grieving the vision. But what happened is we missed the now moments. We missed that moment with that guy, in the now that we had with him. We missed that being engrossed in the kiss, that kiss. We missed the feeling of his hand in our hand in that moment. We missed his smile. We missed the now moments because we're so busy living in the future. We miss the now, and it's the little nows that create the future, that validate the future, that cement the future. And so many of us are guilty of sacrificing the now for the tomorrow, but we don't know that it's the now that is determining whether there'll ever be a tomorrow. And guys, and as human beings, we feel when somebody has us roped into their future before that future happens. And when we're roped into somebody's future, then the now loses its savor, and then you don't want another now. So one of the things that I learned to do is to prevent that feeling of rejection is by just being in the now, not dreaming about how wonderful it will be and how many kids we would have and blah, blah, blah. I realized that if I just finally manage to live in the now, if I can secure this moment with this person right now today, then that's enough. That's enough for me to create. And so when the nows come to a stop, then you just have now. You just have these great moments you shared with somebody that were exquisite. And shame that you can't have more. But that pain of rejection, that grieving process you go through that just doesn't seem to be able to be, satisfied because you're grieving so much. That moment begins to wear down and die down because you are you haven't had to bury a future. You haven't had to bury a future. So this is sort of my thing to use. My number one tip is live in the now, date now, and be in the moment with that person and stop dreaming about the future, because when they vanish or disappear, you're grieving for somebody you've probably only been on a few dates with and spoken to over the phone a couple of times because you went too far in your mind. So what I say to women is, look, stop going there in your mind. Stop going there. Just be in that moment, be in that text message, be in that telephone conversation, be in that moment. Get the information you need to get in that moment. Enjoy that moment. And then you will ultimately have, a greater chance at having a future. And, it lessens the disappointment. So whenever I now speak of a relationship that didn't work or a guy that sort of disappeared, I always say to myself, it was great moments, and it takes a bit of work, because what you have to do is arrest the thought of the wedding bells and the kids and the you have to arrest that thought and be like, okay, we have today, we've had today, it was lovely. If I hear from him tomorrow, if I don't hear from him, it doesn't matter, because we had today. And if I was in the moment today, you know, I always look back at some of the relationships that went a bit pear-shaped, and I realized that I was so into the tomorrow, I missed certain bits of the conversation that was probably quite pivotal to whether we would have a tomorrow. I remember, you know, a guy asking me a question, and I was so caught up in tomorrow that I didn't get where he was going with that question. And I believe that question, had I been in the moment and present in the moment and got an answer from my truth in the moment instead of brushing it off, perhaps we would have had more tomorrows. But what we do is we're absent-minded in the present, because we're living for tomorrow. We're living for this dream that we're cutting out in our mind, and we're producing this little future, and we're only in this to see if this person will hang around enough to have a role in our future. We're casting this person for the role. And if you haven't seen my video, he's a great guy, but you know, I'm talking about having that shared vision, and having a vision that you come into a relationship with, and finding somebody who has the same vision, rather than trying to cut somebody into some future that you have created, and maybe that is not their reality. So how do we deal with rejection? Is number one, we realize that it's a deficit in that person, not in us. It's a deficit in them. There's something in them. I mean, think about when you've rejected somebody. Is it because that person was just awful? Well, somebody else loves them right now. Somebody's into them. Somebody can't sleep at night thinking about them. So it wasn't that they're unlovable. It was just that for where you were and what was going on in your life, I rejected somebody because they were going through too much. You know, mother died, dad was ill, and they want to date. And I said to them, like, you're a great guy, but I am at a point in my life where so much is happening with me personally that I can't afford to almost be what you need in that relationship. I can't be the shoulder for you to cry on. I can't be the girl that you're gonna call, because I'm gonna have too many of my own drama. So I'm looking for somebody whose life is together, who can possibly prop me up too. So the two of us going through what we're going through would not make a great couple. He was not impressed, of course, because nobody wants to be rejected. But what he didn't realize was that I was telling him that it was about me. It was about where my life was, where my situation was at the time, could not accommodate the kind of help and support he would need. He just moved countries. He was working, you know, in a pub. You know, things just were not going right. And I knew that if I was going to be in his life, I was going to have to be prepared to financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically support him. And I just was in such a depleted state myself that I was looking for somebody who could possibly and perhaps be a little bit of that for me. So as a result, I had to reject him, but he took it really badly. And so it made me realize that much of why people walk away from us, and I mean, unless you're a real like hard work drama queen, like hello, but if you're a normal kind of, you know, as normal as women get kind of chick, and you're decent and you keep your stuff together and you got your life together somewhat, and somebody walks away from you when you've put your best foot forward, and you know that you weren't a psychopath or sociopath or anything crazy like that, or at least you took your meds, basically, you know, you had to realize that there was something in that person's life that they just couldn't get into. There's a reason they can't be in this with you right now, and it's not because you're broken or you're a mess or there's something that you can fix. The best thing is to just let it go and tell yourself, look, they had a deficit that I could not fill, and that's good, and I wish them well. And when you do meet somebody again, to prevent the feeling of deep rejection, is don't go in your head to the wedding, to the children, to meeting your mom. Don't let your mind go there. Just be in the moment. And if you live in the power of now, in the moment, in the now of life, you will experience color. You will experience emotions in its raw and happy and great place. So my advice to you is dealing with rejection really comes down to living in the now. And when you're feeling that pain of rejection, that loss of, you know, that person, say to yourself, what is missing right now? And if you can ask yourself the question like that book asks, what is missing right now in my life right now, you will probably find that the answer will be nothing. Nothing is missing. Everything is exactly as it ought to be. So thank you so much for watching, for subscribing, for commenting. Thank you so much for joining me on this channel. I love you lots. Take care of yourself. Mwah. Bye bye.